Cyberpunk simultaneously feels like it should be one of my favorite games of all time, and the biggest letdown since Ryan Gosling's dreams of being the chosen one in Blade Runner. Night City is beautiful, a bustling metropolis dipped in smoke and moody neon lights, and I'm just playing the PS4 version on my PS5. For as many things I like about it, there's just as many things holding it back. I'm not just talking about its bugged out launch state or the obvious lies of the expectations of CD Projekt Red. Things like the rather basic first person shooter mechanics or the flailing melee combat can be overlooked, especially in the heat of combat. It still feels and looks nice enough. The uninspired hacking or the rather tame cybernetic combat options are another matter. That stuff I've just seen done better before. No, the core issue I have is more of the deliberate design choices in the player character and quest design. To reel it all back, we have to start out with our player control character, V. The game begins with an in-depth character creator in which you can customize your V however you want, from voice to gender and genitals. For gameplay purposes, this has little bearings overall, the biggest factor being your woman's option later on. Already kinda strange that the devs tied it to V's gender, as the future is all about open expression. How mods even show that both options are voiced either way, and there's really no reason not to virtually love anyone. Well, maybe time and bugs.
Don't remember, or you want me to remind you?
As I understand it, Cyberpunk at its core is a story about strife, for whatever anybody wants, be it power, fame, money, love, or simply a place to belong. The way to it in Night City is plastered in blood, which I think is a fine theme for a gritty dystopian setting, but also stands in its own way. What I mean is that V walks in its strange place between player stand-in and actual character, somewhere between I shoot you in the face for fun Fallout and Geralt of Rivia. So you're not free to blast the brains out of any quest giver you find, but V also doesn't have a specific moral code that defines him, so in one scene you can go from enthusiastic to careful and end on a distrusting note. Yeah, some of the quips you get as answers may change, but the core conversation takes only V and the blankest slate into account.
Virus. Just a little malware. You get used to it eventually.
Screw you.
If you play as the Witcher trademark, or let's say Commander Shepard, yeah, the game may give you some leeway, especially how fast it gets to violence, but in the end you always have your identity as the figure you're playing as. Geralt will always try to stay out of worldly politics, be sarcastic about the values of lords and ladies, and hunt monsters for coin. The game lets you operate within those boundaries, letting you choose how to operate. Little things like taking on jobs for small coin or letting fiends go if they are essential enough to relocate from populated areas, something which is the subject of a whole questline later on. Shepard might choose to.
Fuck the media!
Or commit a little genocide on the side, but their main goal is always save the galaxy from the Reapers. After creating your V, the game gives you 3 possible Dragon Age origin stories to choose from: Corpo, Street Kid and Nomad. You can read those as small introductions to V and the world of Cyberpunk. Whether you get to do the dirty work for your corrupt boss, steal a car, or smuggle stuff across the border, your destiny seems to be linked to your new best friend, Jackie Briggs.
Get the fuck out!
I realize that this will be a pretty long video for just saying that I find the choices in the main quest and the design of the open world side quest lacking, but honestly, this is the biggest problem I have after getting the game to not crash. Right after your background quest, the game plays this montage cutscene, skipping a few months into you and Jackie's life as mercenaries. This is so strange to me, as this was probably one of the most important time in most other games, and a long time away from bribing or killing grandma to talk to your girlfriend.
I don't recall inviting you, but come in. I'm not entertaining anybody right now.
I'm here to see Shani.
Get out! Stomping into my home like that?
But
You'd think after the shoehorn intro of The Witcher 2 Enhanced Edition, CD Projekt would have learned the lesson in regards to tutorials and letting the player breathe, get familiar with the world. I mean, the first 10 hours of The Witcher 3 is pretty much loitering around with Vesemir, talking about Witcher stuff returning players already know and killing a griffin. It rules. It's such a waste, sacrificing world building in regards to your friends, the fixers, and the working of criminal life in Night City, just to get you into the action faster. This constantly leads to an information difference between the player and V. It's impossible to guess the relationship between V, Shirrako, and let's say Padre. Jackie is V's best friend, not yours. Misty and the Ripper Dog are out of the picture before you can start caring about them. It's like you are malware in the program of V's life, looking in only for the most important stuff. Only you lack the background to emotionally categorize his behavior. The 6-month montage is also where the tutorial to anything you do in this game would have taken place, so the developers had to awkwardly place it in an optional VR mission before a cinematic shootout that kinda needs you to know how to play the game. I'm completely serious, for a game who probably had like 15 designs for each of its characters, the whole experience lacks memorable characters. The two obvious choices would probably be Jackie, who gets off way too early and never gets over best friend level, and Johnny Silverhand, who, as much as he's portrayed as a lonely self-destruction terrorist asshole, I'm to this day not sure if the game wants me to actually like him or not. Okay, so I want to talk about the presentation for a bit, because I have some problems with it. I think most of the talking stuff is beautiful, with some great voice acting, motion capture, and especially in the main quest good facial animations, really invoking a personal feeling, reeling you into the narrative and dialogue. What I don't get is why everything has to be first person in a game that has this many clothes and one of the best character creators. Half of the time, we, for the most part, doesn't need a character model. I really think some third-person action scenes would have done wonders here, making it feel like you're V. The only game I can compare it to would be the new Deus Ex games. A lot of the times Jason's adventures are in first person, but when it counts, I'll just bust out the third-person cutscene. Deus Ex and Cyberpunk are both really well written, but where CP feels like watching a movie, at least Deus Ex actually lets you talk to characters, question them, and call them out on stuff. By the way, this has nothing to do with 2077, but wow, did I forget about Mankind's divided debate system. It comes with its own problems, like turning into Simon Says with an argumentation, but oh my god, is it funny in hindsight that Jensen uses his Sigma Mel grind set to beat alphas and betas with logic and facts. If there's one mission that shows what CB could be capable of in quest design, it's one that comes up pretty early, called The Pickup. Setting up the premise perfectly in a stylish limo ride with Dexter, who wants to hire you for some dangerous job. You're off to get an experimental military robot from a dangerous unhitched group of cyber junkies. Things aren't straightforward, of course. Dexter already paid the Maelstrom group, but seeing as they are under, let's call it, new management, it's up to you and Jackie to bring the deal over the finish line. For free, it is then dropped on you that a corporate operative named Meredith Stroud is also asking about the same robot in the underworld. So if you think it's worth it, you can call her for a meetup, even though everybody distrusts her and she works for the owners of the stolen goods. The great thing is that this is purely optional. Giving the player the choice makes them more invested in the narrative and adds replay value. You can agree to work together and she gives you a shard to pay Maelstrom with. The really cool thing is that if you examine the shard, you can discover that it has a virus on it, but you can hack it clean for another outcome of the quest. The whole thing isn't an objective, but just a bonus for checking out the menu. You get more options for interacting with the world. As much as I want to praise it, there's only one thing I'd like to add, and it's really about polish. Earlier I talked about how the backgrounds don't really mean anything, so here would be a perfect opportunity, for example a corpo background, to remark that they should check out the data shot, something the others could miss if they don't get out of their way. Later on, there's a street kid one, with drugs, that like doesn't do anything? At least putting points into strength saves you a boss fight later on.
Here she is, the ugly bitch! You're dead. You hear?
I make this sound way more negative than it is though. This burst is awesome, the retone setter for the whole game. Honestly way better than the tutorial shootout. From the aforementioned optional opportunities, to the thick atmosphere of the chromed out hideout of Maelstrom, to the actual tense meeting with Brick, there's quite a variety in who you have to shoot, optional hostage rescue, and a way to not have to fight at all. In reading up on this quest, I found out that only as a nomad you can piece together who the mole is because of a term your background recognizes. This really is the best application of open-end quest design, with multiple paths depending on character and choice. Replayable and rewarding. The depending on who you side with, you even meet up with some characters later. Maybe even for some really special rewards. Different branching questlines like Witcher 2 would have been more impressive, but maybe would have gone above and beyond here. Cyberpunk has a lengthy main story, with much more visual, epic, shocking and emotional high points than the simple mission. But for me, this is where it really feels like I impacted something. Sure, later missions give you options, like sparing a techno ninja or saving Panem's nomad friends. But these are all things the game asks you to do, not something me as we discovered and acted upon. Saving New Vegas isn't a black or white choice the game gives you. Every option has benefits and drawbacks to it. You learned about it in the side quest, seeing the factions in action and talking to your leaders. In the end, going further and rewarding extensive exploration with the character Yes Man.
Good to meet you. What can I do for you today?
Rejecting the very choice the game was supposed to be about. Even in the secret ending, Cyberpunk refuses to liberate itself, still making it feel like maybe this wasn't about V's journey after all. One of the collectibles in this game are these awesome morals of the classic Carrot Arcanas that many users tell you about your future, all cyberpunked up. The classic hero's journey, with V as the fool standing before a great abyss and a great opportunity. The other cast members represent different major arcana and so on. Thing is, normally in game franchises like the Persona series, it's about overcoming fate, making your own way, but here, I'm not feeling the message. Night City feels like a place to see and sightsee, not a place to actually live in. Compared to something like the camp or towns in Red Dead Redemption 2 that feel lived in, a part of Arthur's life. This metropolis is more of an atmospheric backdrop in the downtime of driving from main quests and side quests. Speaking of which, I did every fixed side quest in the game, and yeah, there are some entertaining outliers there with interesting plot points, especially compared to the atmospheric first-person conversation in the main quest, they feel lacking and impersonal, going from an interactive movie presentation to a Skyrim side quest. More often than not, I'd like to interact with these people more than the two dialogue options we's got. The highest insight you get is Keanu raving on about how much he hates capitalism to pretty much no one on account of being a techno ghost. One good example of this is the Sacrum Profanum side quest. In this quest you meet a Buddhist monk that had cybernetic implants installed against his will by Maelstrom gang members. He asks you to save his brother from the same fate, but also demands that you solve this non-violent in the spirit of the great Buddha or something. So there isn't really much to solving this. Either you take the sneaky takedown way, or you don't care and shoot everything that moves, much to the ire of the super monk brothers. Why is there no argumenting with the monk about the inherent danger of not using force in this rescue? I don't know. In the gaming industry, there's only ever going up, and more. And after a world as big and immersive as Witcher 3's, there was no way CD Projekt would have been fine making a Cyberpunk game a more streamlike experience. Night City's vastness is more of an illusion that runs hollow the deeper you go, so I'm sure a 30 to 40 hour experience would have enabled them to focus on writing and polishing the product. Of course, I'm saying this all in hindsight, and the team obviously wanted to tackle this challenge. Even they couldn't live up to the sky-high expectations. I can't help but not wanting to criticize them for trying to go above and beyond in areas they never explored before. We can just wait and see if the team of self-proclaimed rebels can learn from the setback and come back out swinging.
In 2077, what makes someone a criminal? Getting caught.